Right. My name is Adam Lyle. I'm head of Level 3 and co-founder with Derek over there in the white of Padang. So a very warm welcome to you all to the launch of Startup Guide Singapore. It's a very exciting night for all of us who've been involved over the last number of months. I've forgotten actually how many months it's been, but it's been a wonderful ride for all of us. Level 3 is very proud to have been selected as the community partner for this inaugural edition of Startup Guide Singapore. And not only is it the first one for Singapore, it's the first in Asia. I hope I'm not stealing any of your thunder, Anna, but it's issued in over 20 cities in Europe and the US. So if you're going to land one in Asia, where would it be? And of course, Singapore is the logical one to land. Some months ago, Upma, who's our community lead, she was very familiar with the guide from London. And she happened to be at one of the German Accelerator Days where she met Anna Weisensteiner, who was here searching to put the guide together. And so Upma said, well, you must come over and see Level 3. We'd really like to be involved. And Anna said, well, I'm, speaking with lots of people. I'm just going to see how it all goes. So she came over, and very fortunately, we happened to have a first edition of the Berlin Guide on our counter up there. And so Anna saw that and thought, well, this seems to be right. The stars are kind of aligning. So that was, I think, a very useful thing because fan of the guide we are. And so that goes back some time. But more than just coincidences, I guess why we're very happy to be involved is sort of the values of what the guide is about, very much aligned with what we at Level 3 are all about. It is about collaboration. Everything is about co-creation and collaboration. Anna and the team, the way they've put the guide together with us, with our team, with the community here, many of you are featured in the guide, the way they've interviewed people, sought for the stories. I mean, on the back of the book, I think it says something like, every startup has a story, and it is about the story. And I think that's what's particularly great about the guide. When you take a look at it, you'll see interesting stories. Of course, not everyone's featured in Singapore, because then we'd have a sort of encyclopedia Britannica. It's not trying to be that. It has a wonderful mix of local, but at the same time, international. And so there's a real sense of style about the book. It is useful, it's inspiring, it's a great thing to have and to use. And I think it's going to be a very important guide and part of the startup ecosystem here in Singapore. So we are very excited to be here tonight to have this opportunity to launch the guide here at Level 3. Now, just a little bit of a promo about what is Level 3. I can certainly see many familiar faces, so you've perhaps heard the story before. But those of you who are new to the space, if you indulge me for a couple of minutes, those who've heard before, I just want to talk a little about the space. Just a little over 2 years ago, Level 3 was launched. Level 3 was born out of a partnership with Unilever Foundry, headed by Baba Gurpion, just disappearing out over there, who's Director Unilever Foundry, Southeast Asia, Australasia. Derek and I and Daryl, we came together as Padang Unilever Foundry to create a co-working space, innovation space with a difference. And we totally believe that difference is there. Where we see our difference with other co-working spaces who do fantastic jobs in what they do, our point of difference is the way of the collaboration and the combination of the elements here. Core to our value proposition is the presence of Unilever. Unilever sits for the next 5 floors above us in this building. We actually lease this floor from Unilever, but together we have co-created, designed this particular space. Where it's different, we also, not only having Unilever upstairs, we have another 7 major corporate partners. Mitsubishi Bank, MUFG, Syngenta, I am going to look at notes because the last thing I want to do is forget one of the 7. Syngenta, Deloitte, Microsoft, STM Microelectronics, WPP, and Cargill. Now, what's interesting here is those 7 corporate partners with Unilever Foundry provide a very strong base of co-creation collaboration. Incidentally, about 35% of the companies, there are over 72 companies working out of this space, about 35% of them have actually done business with Unilever. This is what we're wanting to do here, is providing level of collaboration, co-creation between the startups that are here, the corporate partners, to provide market access for organisations and take them to the next level. So it really is a very dynamic ecosystem. It works vertically, horizontally, and around. So there's a lot going on. In the 2 years that we've been open, we've seen 15,000 people come through to events like tonight, other activities, accelerators, a whole range of different things operating here. So it's a dynamic space that we're very proud to have been involved with and sort of partner with Unilever Foundry to keep it going and taking it to the next level. So that's what we're about. It is collaboration and co-creation. And so again, just sort of bringing back to it, that's why we're so pleased to be working with the Guide in the way that it does. We want more people. We're fortunate at the moment. Actually, we're pretty well full, but we're always looking for more, and we've got some more surprises in the pipeline. So stay tuned to some interesting and exciting announcements coming soon. But for tonight, one thing there are drinks. The drinks will actually start after the speech is finished. So that's my cue to sort of most probably stop speaking. And now it is with great pleasure that I'd like to pass over to Anna Weisensteiner to sort of tell us a little bit of the story of the Startup Guide and how she and the team have made it all happen. It's been an absolute delight working with you, Anna, and your team. Everyone has been wonderful, really easy to work with, and we thank you again very much for selecting us and giving us the opportunity to be part of such a wonderful moment in history, to be part of this guide, and I encourage you all to consume it. So thank you very much, enjoy the evening, and I look forward to collaborating with you all. Now there's a microphone.
Thank you very much, Adam, for that great introduction. I just can give that back to you and your team. It is great working with you. And the collaboration was smooth and, as we see, very successful. I'm a little bit overwhelmed by the amount of people today, and I'm very happy to see that much interest. And thank you, everybody, for supporting Startup Guide here. So a very warm welcome from the whole team of Startup Guide. My name is Anna Weisensteiner, and I'm leading the business development in Asia and Africa. So I must say that last year has actually been one of the busiest and the most exciting at the same time, because as many of you might probably know, Startup Guide is based in Europe. So we have headquarters in Lisbon, in Berlin, and in Copenhagen. And so until last year, we basically operated mainly in Europe, in European cities. So in May 2018, we started to expand to the US, to South Africa, and to Asia in basically less than 6 months. So that was many very exciting big steps for us. And we got to see and immerse into so many different startup ecosystems. We met and connected with so many amazing communities, just like in Singapore. And that's why I'm very proud and happy to today be launching the Startup Guide Singapore, which is, as Adam said, not the first guide for Singapore, but our very first guide for Asia. And that is very, very, very awesome. So the book basically gives a snapshot of the startup ecosystem in Singapore and puts a spotlight on you guys, actually. So you that are featured in the guides, we really wanted to share your stories, and we want to show what Singapore has to offer, what opportunities there are, and what great of a startup city it is. And exactly 8 months ago, it was September the 20th, I was here with Upma and Adam and their team from Level 3, and we were kicking off the production of the Startup Guide Singapore. So we had a 2 weeks nomination period where we collected nominations from you of people who you want to see featured in a guide. The outcome is here today. So after that, we had a curation process. We put together a local advisory board to really pick and select the content with us. Then we scheduled interviews, photo shoots with everyone. And at this point, I want to give a shout out to our local production team. Antonia is here today. She was the project manager for the Singapore book, coordinating all the interviews and photo shoots, which was not always easy with so many people being featured in the guide. Then we had 2 amazing photographers. Ayan is here, and Esther, she couldn't join today, unfortunately, but those 2 are the guys behind the beautiful pictures in the books. Thank you so much for your work. So we put together a collection of startups, programs, spaces, founders, investors to really show what Singapore has to offer and also to tell your stories. And in addition to the book, today we launched the Singapore page on startupguide.com, and our content team already filled it with a couple of really good stories, so I have to mention that. So from today, this page will be filled with updates, with its exciting stories, with interviews from local people here that have something to tell and then that are exciting to follow. So, in order to make our books authentic, for us it is really, really important to collaborate with locals, because what we don't want to do is to go to a city and just put a guide there from our perspective. So we're not sitting in Berlin and just writing about Singapore, but what we do is we came here, we connected with you guys, we got Level 3 as amazing community partner, we got a couple of other partners that I will mention afterwards, and that is actually what we want. So it's important to make the Singapore guide rather from the inside out than just put a book somewhere and write from our perspective. And on that point, I wanted to thank again to Level 3 and all the team for the amazing partnership and all your work. They helped us a lot with curation. They helped us with the ecosystem overview, with connections, with hosting the events. Great job, and it's a pleasure collaborating with you. And this is now actually enough from me. I will pass over the mic in a minute. I would like to give the words to our partners and sponsors, because without you, it wouldn't be possible to realize that project. And we realized this project in about 6 months. And as said, it wouldn't be possible with you, without you. First, I want to give a special thanks to the team from the German Accelerator, because they were a wonderful springboard for our journey to Asia and for the kickoff of the Asian editions. They supported us from the first weeks, and I just wanted to thank everyone from the team for always being there with advice, connections, and helping us so much. Thank you very much. Then a big thanks to our content sponsors, starting with Luther Law Firm, Birgitta von der Dreski. Thank you very much. It is worth mentioning that Luther was the first sponsor that trusted us, which made us very, very confident from week 1, actually, that we're going to do this, because, yeah, we got the first partner here on board. Thank you very much for your support. Then I will go through Hotel G Singapore. It's a pleasure to be working with you, to have you on board, because it's also the first time that we have a partner from the field of hospitality and the travel industry on board. So it's also very exciting to hear your point of view. And we have a great article in the book where they talk about the opportunities and challenges in the traveling and hospitality industry. Thank you very much for your support. Then Jan is here, somewhere I can see you. But Jan from KPMG Digital Village and his team, thank you very much for supporting the book and for your collaboration. Then big thanks to Platform E, the team from Singapore Institute of Management, also content partner. Thank you for your support. Then I'd like to mention Sebastian, CEO from our digital partner from Ming Labs. They are helping us in the development of our website. There will be a lot of updates over the next couple of months, so stay tuned. Thank you, Sebastian and team. And then I'm almost finished. Last but not least, who would be the best media partner here in this region? It will most probably be Tech in Asia, and we are very proud to call you our media partner and supporter for this book. And I would like to quickly pass over the mic to Reynold, Head of Business Development here. Thank you very much.
Thanks, Anna. Hi guys, my name is Reynold. I'll make it quick. I oversee the business development and partnerships team at Tech in Asia. And when Anna first reached out, Startup Guide Singapore, they told us what they were doing, and I think it resonated very much with what we are doing at Tech in Asia, which is the ultimate vision to build, grow, and connect the Asian tech and startup ecosystem. So at Tech in Asia, I think a lot of people recognize us as a media platform, but we go way more than that. We actually work with corporates on their initiatives, on how best do they work with startups? Because we've always been reporting about startups. We've been around for 8 years. We kind of know what they are facing, what they need. They tell us their gripes, how do they raise fundings? How can they best work with corporates? And with this knowledge, I think Tech in Asia's role here is very much to inform different stakeholders, the corporates, the investors, government bodies, as well as independent, anyone stakeholders who are participating in the space. So it's a mission that's very close to our hearts, and we immediately said yes. We are more than happy, very honored to be a part of Startup Guide Singapore. And with that, we hope that if in case any one of you're interested to reach out to anyone at Tech in Asia, we are around. JJ, my colleague, and myself, we are here. But most importantly, we want to thank Startup Guide, thank Anna for this opportunity, and just connecting the whole of Asia together. So thank you, Anna. Back to you.
So I'm now just quickly introducing our partners and then hand over the mic. So first of all, I'm very pleased to welcome Mr. Paul Marriott from SVP Digital Core Solution, SAP APJ. I must say, or I have to mention the special partnership that we have with SAP NextGen, because we are collaborating with them on a global level. So that means they also played a very big role in the expansion that we had over the last month. Yeah, it was not even a year. We are very, very proud to have you as a partner. The collaboration is a very, very great one. And let's continue conquering the world. And I would love to give the mic to you, Paul.
Okay, thanks. Thank you, Anna. Thank you, Adam. Level 3. It's a real privilege for SAP to be here. I wonder how many people in the audience know who SAP is or have heard of us. Maybe I could just get a show of hands. Oh, okay, actually not too bad, not too bad. And then I wonder if those of you that know who we are wondering why we'd be at a startup event. So maybe a couple of data points about SAP and why this program globally is so important. So we have an install base of 400,000 customers. So across the globe, across 26 different industries, we have 400,000 customers. Now, as a company, what we do, I mean, some of you will remember us from patenting the automation of finance and ERP processes. But over the last 40 years, we've built solutions that provide end-to-end process management for customers. So whether it's customer management, supply, ERP financials, people management, whatever it is. Now, I guess what we see in the industry is, and I'll just use maybe a couple of industries as examples. So if you look at utilities, so any of you that are working in the energy sector here, there's significant disruption in terms of how organizations in that industry are rethinking their business models. I work with big energy providers in markets like Australia that when they go from traditional energy supplies to renewables, it puts dramatic strain on their infrastructure in terms of how they deliver services to consumers. So they're going through this significant business model change. You see in retail, we all see in retail the shift from traditional retail to commerce to personalization to the consumer basically defining, exactly what they want. You look at industries like agri, even here around Southeast Asia. In fact, we have one of our partners here, which is CrowdFarmX. Are they in the room? Hey guys. So if you look at the agri industry, we talk about a concept of taking, from farm to fork, bringing food to people in a highly sustainable way. My point is that in all of these industries, there's disruption. And what we see when we work with our 400,000 customers is that while SAP, of course, can do a lot to automate process, every single one of those customers is looking for innovation around aspects of their business, particularly where there's disruption. So what this Next Gen program allows us to do is to work with you and our customers to then enable that innovation. There's no way we can do it on our own, so we partner with universities, we partner with startups, we partner with our customers, then to drive those opportunities in our install base. And really that's why I think you should be interested in us, because we've got such pervasive access to the very customers that you want to service. So that's what we're offering. We also, Anna, yesterday launched something called SAP I/O Foundry in Singapore as well. Perfect timing. You'll find it in the book. What this is also an acceleration service for startups. So we just launched that yesterday. We're taking applications in Singapore between now and May. And then by mid-June, we will pick a number of startups that will go through a 13-week acceleration program with us. It'll happen just over the road from the offices here. We're based in the same Mapletree Business Center. And that'll give you support in terms of technology support, business case, obviously looking at your go-to-market and how you want to take solutions to customers in this part of the world. My only ask, if you're interested in coming into that program, is that you have some level of viability already established. This is important. It could be a pilot that you're already running with a customer, but some level of basic viability is important. And for us, SAP, it's important that there's some connection to what we do in terms of end-to-end process for a customer. So I think if you can qualify around one of those two things, then apply. It's free. We don't take any equity in your company. It's a 13-week program that you get to experience the power of SAP working with you here in Singapore. So this was also newly launched yesterday. So my offer to you, access to 400,000 customers, and now in Singapore, our own SAP I/O Foundry. So applications, come and talk to one of the SAP staff, myself, or colleagues in the room, and happy to help you. So thank you, Anna. Thank you, Adam. And great launch of a great book. Well done.
Thank you, Paul. So then, a big thanks to Ryan and his team from Cargill. Ryan is leading the digital strategy of Cargill in the APAC zone. And Ryan has also been part from the very beginning, actually, and was part of the kickoff also and contributed a lot to the fast project development here. And I would like to pass over the mic to you.
Thank you. Thank you, Anna. Hi, my name is Ryan. So I lead digital strategy and innovations in Cargill APAC. Right, Cargill, we are a purpose-driven private company. Right, so we work alongside with farmers, producer, manufacturer, government, as well as what's more important, the startup ecosystems, to nourish the world in a safe, responsible, and sustainable way. Right, I am very happy. In fact, whole of Cargill is really happy to partner with Startup Guide to help to promote the local ecosystems. Right, as a corporate partners, we have put in place many initiatives to help startups to grow alongside with Cargill. right? Some of them includes accelerator programs. We do have our Farm to Fork programs as well in the States, and we're going to launch one in Singapore as well. Look out for it. We do have our hackathon programs as well, right? Problem-solving projects as well as strategic investments, if it makes sense. So, great job, Anna and team. Really happy on that. In fact, sometime early next week, we're going to run a hackathon with Microsoft, right? And I welcome you to join us if you can, and approach myself and my colleague during the networking time. Thank you.
And now, last but not least, I'm very pleased to welcome Mr. Edwin Chow, Assistant CEO of Enterprise Singapore, to the stage. Great thank you, very big thank you to Enterprise Singapore for being part of this project, for supporting us. Enterprise Singapore, with its commitment and being the catalyst, one of the catalysts of the development of the startup ecosystem in Singapore. It is very great to have you on board, and I hand over the mic to you.
Thank you, Anna. Thank you. Well, good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Pleasure to be with you, to see so many people and some familiar faces and not so familiar faces here. As Anna mentioned, my name is Edwin Chow. I'm from Enterprise Singapore. Those of you who don't know, Enterprise Singapore is a government agency that will be celebrating its first anniversary in a couple of weeks' time, April the 2nd. We were formed by the merger of two other government agencies last year. Spring Singapore, which helps Singapore companies, Singapore-based companies, become more productive and to grow. And IE Singapore, whose mission was to help Singapore companies go global, to internationalize. So in April last year, we merged. And since then, the mission remains the same. Right? It's still to help Singapore-based companies to become more productive, to internationalize more quickly, and also to innovate. And specifically to Startup SG, the Startup Guide Singapore. It was a real pleasure and also a little bit of serendipity that allowed this thing to happen, because one of the strategies that we had to help strengthen our startup ecosystem was to set up what we call global innovation nodes or partnerships, with accelerators and startup incubators from other countries. So particularly with Germany, we have a German accelerator that we facilitated. They're setting up here in Singapore. And one of the batches of the programs or acceleration programs that they organize was the company behind Startup Guide. And when they reached out and suggested to do a collaboration, it was pushing at an open door. So this is something which is very clearly win-win. It helps us to promote Singapore as a startup hub globally, and it also plugs into what the Startup Guide wants to do globally. But anyway, I won't bore you with too many details. Just wanted to make 3 quick points just to reiterate why we're doing this, right? So firstly is why startups? Why is it that startups are important to an economy now? I know I'm preaching to the converted here. Everyone here has pretty much drunk the Kool-Aid. But it's not too long ago, for those of us with long memories, in Singapore, startups were seen as places where the smart people or the not so smart people who couldn't get jobs in multinationals, professionals, that's where they end up. It was a career of last resort. It's not so long ago. And this was after, of course, the dot-com boom, then the original boom and the bust. And I remember when I started working in the startup space back in, first it was EDB and then in Spring Singapore. Whenever I knocked on the doors of large companies like Cargill, SAP, and say, hey, why don't you give the startups a chance? Back then, the answer was, why should we help these guys? And it's also government agencies, fellow government agencies. When we asked them to do something for our startups, it was why? What value do they bring? But I'm glad to say that today, fast forward 10, 15 years, it's very different now. It's people are saying, we accept that startups is a growth engine globally. People see the phenomenal success of your Facebooks, your Googles, and also some of the hardware biotech startups. And now they see value as they see startups as a way of creating economic value and jobs in countries all around the world. And in Singapore, it's no different. Our ecosystem has grown, has matured. 5 years ago, we only had maybe about 3,000 or so tech startups that were on our database, our radar screen. Today, it's over 4,300. 5 years ago, we only noted about 80 VC deals, 80 venture cap deals, total value of maybe about 150 million US dollars. Last year alone, we had 230 deals signed, publicly signed and announced, with a value of over $4 billion. Of course, half of that $4 billion was actually raised by one company, Grab. But still, it's orders of magnitude bigger just in 5 years. Right? And also the employment, the jobs that are created, more importantly, the types of jobs that's created. In 2005, to get into the National University of Singapore's computer science department, all you needed were maybe B's and C's, maybe even a D to get you in. Nobody was interested. But today, straight A's only guarantees you an interview. Maybe not even then. Right? And it's correlated with the fact that the original bunch of successful startup entrepreneurs, people like Darius, who 99Co is sponsoring. So he was one of the original startup champions when 10Cube was sold to McAfee. Right? People like him, where he has demonstrated that a startup could succeed, could make people wealthy, could be a creation of good jobs and opportunities. Right? That convinced a next generation of young men, and not so young men and women, to try their hand at being entrepreneurs. And we at Enterprise Singapore want to see more of that continue. And because we believe this is one way of creating economic value and jobs for Singapore. So that's why our interest in startups. What do we want to do with startups that's different, right? One of the things is actually alluded to already by the two previous speakers, because we think that in Singapore today, many of the startups, the ideas that they have, the innovations that they can come up with, can actually rejuvenate existing industry. Right? Not many people know this, but in Singapore today, manufacturing still accounts for 20% of our GDP. Most of our manufacturers, the big multinationals even, they basically came to Singapore to make stuff cheaper, better, and faster than anywhere else in the world. They then stayed on, did some R&D, upstream R&D. But increasingly, they are also coming to realize that the world has shifted a lot, and this idea of open innovation, of crowdsourcing ideas from outside of their organizations is becoming more and more important to solve problems that their customers are prepared to pay for. And that's where we think that Singapore has a unique value proposition in this space that not many other innovation or startup ecosystems have around the world. In a small little island, 700 square kilometers, you have access to 5,000 multinationals with their regional headquarters in Singapore. You have access to about 10 or 15,000 large Singaporean companies with trading and market channels in the region. Now, all of them, if you as startup entrepreneurs ask them the right question, they could actually open doors to innovation opportunities, commercial opportunities that maybe only you in your startup can solve. And we think that that is a very strong value proposition. I mean, of course, everything else, the environment, the support, all the stuff that you can read in the guide, all that is basic hygiene factor. But what the delta that we can bring to the table is this connection with industry, with the multinationals, the large companies, that can help you scale up into the region quickly. And that's also one of the reasons why we're very supportive, together with our friends in the EDB, of the kind of open innovation, acceleration, hackathon projects that both Cargill and SAP have been talking about. And we'd like to see more of that happen here in Singapore. And if any of you have any ideas on how to do more of that, please come see me. We're more than happy to have a chat. The third point I want to make, right, so why startups, the unique value proposition of Singapore, is about talent, and especially the international connections and the international links that we want to form with innovation nodes all around the world. As you guys probably know, just looking around you, this is a great cultural, very cosmopolitan mix. And it's probably at this intersection of cultures and experiences that great ideas can form and execute. And we are trying, as a government of Singapore, to build more of such links with people from all around the world. We have this thing called the Global Innovation Alliance. in which we have set up partnerships or nodes with about 9 cities globally. These are places like, the usual suspects, Bay Area, Tokyo, Tel Aviv, and so on. We intend to roll out more of such connections worldwide, both with the traditional startup hubs around the world and also with the not so obvious startup hubs, be they in Africa, in Latin America, and elsewhere. So again, the idea is to be able to make it as easy as possible for founders to come in, for inventors, innovators to come in. We have liberalized our Entrepass. I hope all of you who are not born and bred here are taking advantage of that program, where if you have an idea, you come in, you can spend 1 year in Singapore on an Entrepass visa and only incorporate a company at the end of that first year, and then you get a renewal to stay for another 2 years. So these are some of the tweaks that we have made to our policies, and we want to more aggressively set up partnerships with such innovation nodes all around the world. And the beauty about this business is that it's the more the merrier. So long as the people who come in are not criminals, drug dealers, drug addicts, and can feed themselves for a year, we will welcome them. If you fall into any of those 3 categories, then sorry, better don't let us know. The same goes for Singaporeans going out, because we will only be as successful as our neighbors are, right? Or as the world is. Because ultimately, the only resource we have is people as a country. So we need to send our kids out as well early to gain exposure to the culture there, to know how to conduct business there, to really become regional, if not global citizens. And that's the vision that our government has, and that we hope to be able to execute together with all of you here. All right. So that's all I have to say. Thanks again for the invitation. And once again, congratulations to the team at the Startup Guide Singapore, and look forward to subsequent editions. All right. Thank you.
Thank you very much. So thank you all very much for your time. Thanks everyone who was part of the Startup Guide Singapore process, who is part of the book, who helped to make this project real. I just actually want to wrap up. The book is available online on startupguide.com. Please, everyone that has been featured in the guide, you can pick up your copy here at the counter. And now I would say let's call it a Thursday and open the bar. I wish everyone a nice evening.